Good evening and thanks for your company on Tok Piksa. Churches are an important part of our communities throughout the country. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill acknowledged this recently at the opening of a church in the Central Province. He said churches hold communities together and fill the role where governments have not been present.
On Friday, the 19th of August 2016, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill flew into Maupa Village by helicopter with the Minister for Justice and Attorney General Enrigo MP Anopala. They were received by the local Member of Parliament and Minister for Public Service, Sepuka Temu. The Prime Minister was there to emphasize the importance of churches in communities. Other guests there included Central Governor Kila Hauda, Minister for Mining Baron Chen, and the Secretary for the Department of Personnel Management John Kali, among many others. It was a big occasion for the people of Maupa and the villages along the stretch of the Aroma coast. Thousands of people came from far and wide with poles of food. They danced in celebration. Prime Minister O'Neill said churches hold our communities together and they fill in the role where governments have not been present.
For the past 40 years since independence, many of you know, many of us here know, that government services has been on the decline and the church has been filling the role in many communities throughout the country. That is why when we got into government in 2011, and then when we got returned after the elections in 2012, we made a very strong commitment as government that we must partner the churches in their work throughout the country. We made a very strong commitment. And that is why we started funding helping put some funds into the church activities throughout the country, including supporting the education system, paying all their teachers and health workers in the churches throughout the country.
The church building was named Georita II as it replaces the first Georita Church, named in honor of its longest-serving pastor, Reverend Waigeno, and his wife, Rita. Representing the George family was Emily George Taule from Transparency International. She thanked the people of Maupa for continuing the memory of her grandfather's service of over 30 years of pastoral work. Prime Minister O'Neill paid tribute to the local community for their efforts in ensuring the church was completed.
I am pleased that through our Community Development Fund, when we were requested to assist, we did put some contributions. But most of the work came from the community, and I want to thank each and every one of you. Without your sacrifice, especially those who are not here with us today as our ward chairman and our, of course, Deacon as stated earlier, that this achievement could not be possible.
He unveiled the church plug. The church was blessed by the United Church Bishop of the East Central Papua region, Laka Renagi. Bishop Renagi also opened the church doors and led the first sermon.
They are cutting the program by 15 minutes.
The Prime Minister also made contributions to other local churches, including the Gaivakala and Egalauna SDA churches, to the tune of 100,000 kina each.
Welcome back to Tok Piksa. The history of the Maupa Levapuka United Church dates back to the 1900s. Scottish-born missionary James Chalmers played a vital role in laying the foundations of the London Missionary Society, now the United Church of Papua New Guinea. He published several accounts of his work, including Pioneering in New Guinea, 1887, where he mentions arriving in Maupa Village and meeting the paramount chief.
The site on which the Georita II church stands is where the village's first United Church building was built when pioneer missionary James Chalmers was in the area. A glimpse of Maupa Village in the late 1900s can be found in the writings of James Chalmers himself. In his article, Pioneering in New Guinea in 1887, Chalmers wrote, "Not many years ago, Aroma appeared on the chart for the first time, and in 1880, the first white man landed." Chalmers mentions meeting a chief of Aroma, an impressive man called Kwapena. A direct descendant and church elder, Kwapena Makara, retells the encounter.
The pioneer missionary, Reverend James Chalmers, came in about 1882 or 81. We're not quite sure about the date, but he came in, he wanted to land into this place, but this area was very dangerous because of the fierce warriors who were roaming the beach, trying to safeguard the people, foreigners coming into their land. So Chalmers knew this because he was based at Kerepunu or Keapara now, and when he knew that, he came, anchored off the beach here, trying to find out exactly what was happening. But he didn't land that first trip. The second trip he came, he actually landed. And he landed at Paramana Point. And the dinghy came down and they landed on the beach. The chief of Paramana was also there. So Chalmers came and asked who was the chief and which was the biggest village. And this cousin of his told them, from Paramana, told them that Kwapena, who was a chief, paramount chief of Maupa, he said the chief is at Maupa. So Chalmers decided to meet him.
It was through this acquaintance that the first London Missionary Society, or LMS Church, was established in Maupa Village. Chalmers wrote, "In 1881, teachers were placed at Parimata and Maupa, and the head chief promised to care for them. In December 1884, we visited Aroma and opened the first two churches." This rare photograph shows the mission house where all the missionaries and their families were accommodated together for safety reasons. The profound figure in the center is Chief Kwapena, whom Chalmers wrote about. Church attendance in those very early days was not common.
Actually, the people were coming to church, but because they didn't really understand the gospel, they were not really keen in a way to come and continue coming to church.
The second church was built when the local church pastor Waigeno and his wife Rita Kay came to Maupa around 1930. The second church was built out of lime from corals.
And they had to bake that lime here over the fire and use it as a cement to build a church.
After that church was demolished, the village was without a church building for about a decade. The third church was built in 1978 by Reverend Kilavele from Hula. It was named after Reverend George and his wife Rita, thus called Georita.
Now, when George came, our local pastor, he started the Boy Scout movement because people were not keen to come to church and to follow Christian ways. So he started the Boy Scout, and all the young men joined the Boy Scout, and my father was one of the leaders in that. So they continue having that, and people start coming to church more.
The former LMS churches are now known as the United Church. Georita II is the fourth United Church building to be erected in Maupa. The church and the people have come a long way since the first building was built during the time of James Chalmers, or Tamati, as he was locally known. Georita II was built through government and community partnership at a total estimated cost of 700,000 kina.
We started with 86,000. It came 2 pillars and there were no money. With the government support, the government has given us over 500,000. And total up to date, with the money that's been given by the village people, we are almost 700,000. That's total money that's been spent in building the church. And a lot of other things have been donated as well. The furniture have been donated, the foams here have been donated, bale has been donated, the carpet here, the tiles here have been also donated. So we have village people coming together, giving things to the church, so that this church is being built out of people's effort and government support.
The old Georita Church had a sitting capacity of about 200. The new Georita II has an increased capacity of 500 to 700, a fitting expansion as the village population continues to grow.
Most of the builders are the volunteer people who have put their time together to build a church. And what we have achieved at the moment is because of the government support and the village people support in doing that. And also the people who have been consistent coming to help. Every day there will be 5 or 4 people, or even up to 10 at times, coming in to help building the church since 2013 till now opening. So I think with that, I totally appreciate for what they have done, especially for the village people, because this church, I believe, will last for quite a long time. Yeah.
To many locals, the opening of the new church is a reminder of a higher power, a symbol of blessing, of renewed faith, and of better things to come.
Welcome back to Tok Piksa. We continue our coverage on the Maupa Levapuka Church. In this last segment, we look at how much influence the church has on the younger population along the Aroma coast.
James Chalmers described the people of the Aroma coast as savages in his writings in the 1880s. It was the usual stereotypical interpretation of newcomers during that period. Life on the Aroma coast is different now compared to the descriptions of Chalmers. Much of the change came from the early influence of the missionaries. These days, it's a combination of Christian values, exposure to Western culture and influence, and education. Life in the village continues to be a lot simpler compared to the urban centers. Church activities and religious beliefs now play a significant role in the lives of the people.
The church here is very very supportive, and people live together and they help one another in every situation. You know, at the time of death, the college here, Maupa, play a leading role. And they also do a lot of charity work in the village, especially looking after the elders. Youth and men's fellowship also very strong. Deacons groups are very strong here as well. Then we have deacon leaders who are actually leading the construction of the church with very committed people.
Maupa Village is where it is today as a result of legacy. Legacy of its leaders from the likes of the old paramount chief Kopena Verave, of Reverend Georgieno and his wife Rita K, and elders like retired Reverend Make Koloma. The family of Georgieno showed its appreciation by presenting a framed picture of the late Reverend and his wife to the current pastor of the Maupa Levapuka United Church. The government of the day was also instrumental in the church project through its support. The locals expressed appreciation at such a generous turnout of members of parliament, including the Prime Minister at the church opening.
After opening, we are thinking of redeveloping this land here. This land was given in 1886 by my great-grandfather, the paramount chief of Kopena Verave. And our vision is to ensure this land is redeveloped so that it's stable, because it's sand that's been moving everywhere. Secondly, we want to develop a further site over here to set up the netball and volleyball courts for the youth, so youth can come together and play here in the society land. And at the later stage, we want to rebuild the pastor's house.
Georita II stands as a testament of God's presence through strong, committed leaders and honest, hardworking individuals in the village.
This has been yet another edition of Tok Piksa, and we hope you have enjoyed the program. If you only just joined us or missed any part of the show, not to worry, you can view the full version of tonight's episode or any of our previous ones by visiting MTV online at www.mtv.com.bg. And until we do this again next Sunday, I'm Neville Choi. Good night.